Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Million Dollar Failure, Why Homes Don't Sell, and How to Fix It. These are real stories, real fails, and real solutions. And now, here are your hosts, Jeremy and Nicole.
So, welcome back to Million Dollar Failure. I'm Nicole.
I'm Jeremy.
And I am very excited for our guest today. His name is James, and I've known him since starting real estate. He was the go-to photographer with the team I was initially on and the broker I was with. He shot all the houses, and I had such a great experience with him. He's got so much knowledge.
That is very awesome. We're excited about that because as consumers, when you're out there and you're looking at pictures, you may not realize subliminally that you're passing up on homes to look at because the photos just aren't appealing. Oh, that kitchen doesn't look all that bright and beautiful. And
Absolutely.
the photography plays a huge role. You know what I'm excited about today? We have new boom mics.
We do. Look.
And we're becoming more and more a real podcast week by week.
Pretty soon we're going to have a beautiful background.
Right.
Thanks to our broker.
It's going to be very exciting. So without further ado.
Yes, here's James. Showtime.
All right, let's go. What's the first question?
All right. Well, welcome. We're so happy to have you today. James, would you like to introduce yourself?
Pleased to be here. My name is James Northen. I'm a real estate photographer. I've been doing this for about 23 years or so. I've got a reasonable reputation around the country. I've written the forwards for a number of well-known photographers' books who keep telling me to write my own book, and I keep saying that I don't really have time for that. I'm so damn busy. So that's a little bit about me. I mean, if you want to go into my total history, I was born in New Zealand, raised on Long Island by British parents, and sent to boarding school when I was 9. So yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's a decent story.
It's not bad.
So what brought you to the Vero area?
What brought me to Vero? Basically, actually, my parents, oddly enough. I was living in Boca Raton. Well, we'll go back a little bit farther. I was in the meat business prior to this, and I bought and sold container loads of boxed beef from Australia and New Zealand.
That's usually the beginning of the photography career.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
I read up about that a lot.
Oh, you trust me. If I go back even further, you're just going to go, how did you even find a camera? For Christ. Anyway, I work for a company in Manhattan, and they're the largest importer of beef from Australia, New Zealand, and other parts around the world. Anyway, that company closed, and one of my clients in Florida said, "Hey, what are you going to do when the company closes?" And I said, "Well, I don't really know." And he said, "Well, why don't you come work for me? I mean, you must be good for something." I said, "Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you." So I came down to Florida, to Boca Raton specifically. So we moved down here. I worked with them for a while. My parents, at the same time my dad retired, moved down to Boca and came to live with me. Both of them came to live with me, and they spent the next year driving around Florida looking for somewhere to live, basically, that was going to be comparable to what they had in New York, but no snow. My mom and dad came down, moved in with me, but they really weren't there that frequently because they're constantly driving around Florida looking for some place to live or to relocate to. And I mean, they looked all over the East Coast, the West Coast, and one day came home and said they bought a lot in actually in Marbrisa and in Vero Beach, and that lot fell through. They went on a trip. So that's sort of how they moved up to Vero. Boca got really crowded, and I said, "I'm out of here." And I came up and found some work with the college.
I lost my word. The whole resume, how everyone ends up in real estate of any sort. It's like you just kind of meander your way there.
And then right. So what happened after that was I started doing some computer work for, you'll probably remember, I don't know if you remember this or not, Berkshire Hathaway used to be referred to as Norris and Company. Did some computer work for them. Somebody saw some pictures. Oh, I won the Photographer of the Year award back in 2020.
That little thing.
Yeah, with for the Indian River County. It's not that big of a deal.
Okay.
So it's not like Florida or the East Coast. So anyway, I somebody saw that and said, "Hey, would you shoot a house for us?" And I said, "That sounds incredibly like work." So they persisted. One thing led to another, and I discovered that I actually really quite enjoyed photographing houses. That's how I got to Vero Beach. And here I am.
Yeah. But so I've known you since I started real estate. That's been
That's
about 5 years.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
was gonna say.
So we've done a lot of work together. I've always been impressed by your work.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I try. I'll say this. I think when I used to use lights and I light the main room
Mhm.
and then we'd light the rooms. I mean, we'd have 8 or 9, 10 lights going, and they were strobe lights. So, homeowners would just be like, "Whoa, what's that?" And
Mhm.
their whole house is flashing like with these big lights. So they're like, "Whoa, I said it's not amateur night at the Bijou. This is the real deal." And I think the quality of my photography and the quality of anybody's photography for that matter using lights is going to be considerably better than the way we do it today. We shoot what are called brackets. I don't know how familiar you are with photography. I like your shirt, Jeremy. That's nice. I just noticed that. Yeah.
I've had to learn about brackets.
Okay. So, oh, right. Because of Jeff, of course.
Mhm.
So these
I
days,
made him learn it.
oh, okay. These days we shoot 5 brackets at, what they call 2 stops apart. We send them off to an editor in Poland. He sends them to some people in Vietnam and Taiwan and the Philippines. They edit them. We get them back the next day. I look at them and say, "Yeah, these are good." Or
So you do a variety of properties.
yeah, we do
Like-
everything.
Yes, because you've done a lot of high-end properties.
Uh-huh.
You said commercial recently, some land,
Yeah.
and then there's some challenging properties every now and then.
Oh, yeah. The one that we did for you a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, probably now, isn't it?
So with this program, $1 Million Failure, we typically talk with sellers that didn't have a great experience. And so we brought you on today to talk about from your perspective and when you've gone into homes, whether it be a problem child, like you just mentioned, where it's difficult to shoot, or maybe the sellers are being a little bit difficult they didn't leave the house and they're in the way. So we're very curious about various stories that either prevent a home from really showing the way it should or being shot the way it should. If there's times where your photography has helped sell a place or hindered, looking for different varieties of stories. That's what our listeners are clamoring for.
All right. Sea Oaks is a bit of a mixed bag. You can come across stuff that's been redone, looks great. I've shot a couple of those recently, but today's was a bit of a gem. It was a couple, I don't know where they were from. They were very pleasant. He happened to be a photographer. That's always a joy. I called and said, "Hey, can we move this shoot up?" And he's like, "The guy's a photographer and he's really particular about the light." And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know why, because these are just for real estate. It's not Architectural Digest. But anyway, we got there, and let's just put it this way: they hadn't done anything to this unit in the 20 years that they've owned it.
We see that a lot.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about those people typically is they think that their homes are spectacular. It's, because you can hear them talking to the agent now. The best thing about this unit, because no other unit's got it, and you're like, "Oh, this should be interesting."
It's always our favorite.
Right. Look at the view, and I'm, looking at just trees. It was on the second story. So you get properties like that where the homeowner thinks the place looks great. Now, it wasn't the worst I've ever seen, but I'll say this. They'll probably be very happy with the photographs. When I talked to the guy, it's a little bit, you're always a little bit nervous that if it's another photographer, they're going to hover and lean over you and want to talk about everything. And for the first couple of shots, he hovered, leaned over, looked at the camera. I didn't say anything because the moment you say something, you're just inviting, an hour and a half's worth of conversation sort of thing. So the only question I asked was, who did he shoot for? And he said, magazines. And then when I said, oh, which one? He said, oh, any magazine. I said, name one. Name one. I've shot for it. So I said, Hustler. And, and he said, no, I haven't shot for them. I said, damn, I was, hoping for some insight there.
That's a whole other podcast.
Some
That's a whole
stories.
other podcast. Yeah, right. One of the biggest pet peeves that I have, and you can't change it, because that's where people have put their furniture, but it's furniture placement.
Yeah.
And we see some weird stuff, like 2 couches in the center of a room, back to back, like one's looking at the televisions and the other one's looking at the kitchen.
I haven't seen that yet.
No.
Oh God, no, twice. I've seen it with smaller chairs, or you come into a place and they've got so many plants that you can't move.
So on that note,
Yeah.
What's the most outrageous thing you've ever walked into when shooting a home? What's top of the list?
It's a good question. As far as
what shocked you? Like you've walked into a home and you just like almost fall over. Like, I can't believe I'm witnessing this.
Yeah. I do remember some places. Well, Nicole hit it on the nail earlier when she said, you used to pretty much shoot high end, and now it seems you shoot everything. We do. I have shot crack houses with no power.
Mm-hmm.
And they said there'd be a lockbox, but there wasn't. And there was a guy and a woman. I think it was a woman, sleeping in there on the floor. They'd just been getting high. They're pretty wasted.
That would be kind of shocking.
It was difficult to get them out, but I did. Here's another one. We got to a house, and the agent had kind of warned us that the woman's son was a special needs individual. I'll say. I mean, there were holes in the walls, food on the walls.
Oh, no.
The kid ate with his hands. He was there when it was really a tragic story, quite honestly, because I don't think mom had the wherewithal to really handle him properly or, get the right sort of attention for him, which, that's disappointing. But that was a weird one. I'm trying to think.
Sometimes the personalities of the sellers and or agents are the ones that make it weird.
Yeah. We like it if we can go in and even if it's furnished, if we can just, get it ready, we'll go in, shoot it, and text you when we're done. And that, we've got some agents that, quite honestly, they just look at their clients and go, okay, it's time for you to leave.
Mm-hmm.
You need to go away. They look back and you'll go, I'm serious. You need to leave. So that's always a good one. As far as properties that have bowled me over on the nice side, there's some really big oceanfront homes. I forget the guy's name, but and the story goes, he bought or he built the first house, and I think the first house was somewhere about 20,000 square feet. And he had a new wife at the time, and he built the house for her. And she was from a foreign country, Ukraine or somewhere like that. And when they moved in, she said it wasn't big enough. They needed more guest rooms. Yeah, I know, 20,000 square feet. They needed more guest rooms for her sisters to visit. So he said, okay, all right, that's not a problem. He bought the 5 lots next door.
Wow.
And built a 44,000 square foot house with 2 swimming pools, 18 bedrooms. I forget how many bathrooms, 22, something like that. It took me 3 days to photo, and that was back when I was shooting with lights.
Yeah.
So I knew it was going to be a big job, so I allotted 3 days for it. And I get there each morning at 9 o'clock, and I wouldn't leave until 5. But the big pain in the neck was all the lights. And here's the unfortunate part about it. He built the house, and she divorced him. So he put the house on the market and sold it.
That's rough.
And he was a developer from New Hampshire, developed shopping malls up there. We photographed another guy's house in the same vicinity. Oh, the Barcode house.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who owns it now is a real piece of work. A nice guy. I really liked him. Really enjoyed our 3 days down there. But he is, he's got a ton of money, doesn't mind spending it, and he likes to party. I mean, good God. He has his margarita machines, like 10 or 12 of them, still in the boxes.
Oh
The
my
commercial
goodness.
grade ones, because he's got them all in the bars all around the place.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, yeah, if one breaks, I don't have to get another one. I've got one over here.
How often is he breaking these things?
I don't know, but I have no
What's
idea.
he putting in them?
God knows. But I mean, we arrived there one day to shoot the upper balcony stuff, and he's sitting out on the front porch or on the steps with his manservant, basically. And he goes, hey, he's got a real high-pitched Texas accent. He goes, hey, are you guys here to do the porches? I said, yeah, we're here to do the porches. You need to get the fuck moving, man, because I got to get up there and start making some margaritas. I said, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, man. He says, I don't give a damn what time it is. I'm ready for a margarita. And so we finished shooting it, and he goes, you guys want to come in and have some too? No, it's a little too early for that. And what was the other one? Yeah, I heard him on the phone with a friend and saying, hey, I want to go down to Bahamas this weekend. And so the friend, I'm going to go down on the boat. Let's get the boat down Bahamas and go down there and have some fun. And the guy says, I couldn't hear him, but he must have said, well, how long is the boat ride?
Mm-hmm.
Because this guy turns around and he goes, boat ride? I ain't taking no boat. I'm going to have the captain put the boat down in the Bahamas. You and I are going to take a fucking private plane, for Christ's sakes. This guy was good, I have to admit. I enjoyed
He'd be fun
him.
to listen to.
Oh, God. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to go out with him. It'd be a little too over the top.
No, it'd be a little bit much. Have you ever had to show up? Like, have you shown up to shoot a house and had to say no?
I've been close.
Mm.
Like, you'll get 20 minutes into the shoot and the client will be just bothering the crap out of you, and you can tell the chemistry is like oil and water.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never actually backed completely out of a shoot that I've started. Oh, sorry, Jeremy.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Oh no! So I was gonna say, on that note, what's one thing that agents or sellers always get wrong when preparing for a shoot? So, like you said, you almost walked out on this. Where do we go wrong?
Oh, that was mostly because the client was just being unrealistic, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But where do people? Basically, in the staging, I love the people that we walk into the shoot and they go, well, we didn't know what to do, so we just left it exactly the way it is. And I'm looking in the sink and the breakfast dishes are there, and you look at them and you think to yourself, you actually thought we were going to shoot your house to sell it with the breakfast dishes here? I mean, come on. Let's get moving here. So we get a lot of people like that don't really want to do anything. And they come from all income stratas.
Mm-hmm.
The ones down at the bottom, when you walk into the place, like we walked into a place, they had a litter of, not Doberman Pinschers. Oh, shit. Yeah, the other black and mottled brown dog. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They had a litter of 12 Rottweilers in a pen in the center of the living room.
That's perfect for photography.
On the
That's
tile.
perfect.
On
That's
the
how
tile.
we're going to sell the house.
And they had adult dogs, in crates in the garage. And I looked at them and I was just like, what are you guys, a puppy mill or something, for Christ's sakes?
Well, I would assume pets can be a problem.
But
Like
then
I've
we get some great pets as well.
Oh, yeah.
That was a problem.
Most are great, but there's so many people with exotic animals here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've never come across anybody who's got like an ocelot or a small panther or a puma or something. But the most exotic thing I think I've come across is a macaw parrot.
Oh, that's lame.
Yeah, I think
we
so.
need better. We need better pets.
We need better people with better pets.
We need some giant reptiles.
I dated a girl in Dania, Florida, and the people who lived a few doors down were related with part of the Fabergé family,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a tiger. I'm not kidding. They had a tiger enclosure in their backyard. Now, how they got away with this, I don't really know, but you could hear it growl
Yeah.
at times. So.
My first background is exotic animals, so I've seen. I went to a house that had 3 tigers.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. In outside Gainesville, and it was interesting. It was a throuple. So
Yeah, I just got introduced to
True.
that word about a month ago.
you're
Yeah.
So it was an elderly couple, but then they had a younger man living with them, and they had 3 tigers, and they trained them and they owned them. But unfortunately, tragedy struck. The tiger attacked 2 of them within a month after I met them.
My gosh.
They're about
Jeremy loves us and our stories.
he ate them both, or
I know one of the people passed, and I
Mm.
think I don't remember if the second one did.
yeah,
It
I don't-
was
yeah. I don't
we
think-
owned a magazine, so I went out there with my dad and we did a photo shoot with them.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. See, we meandering careers.
Yeah, I'll say.
Hey, what are your thoughts on drones these days, right? So,
Absolutely, you have to have a drone.
right. And then when it comes to luxury listings like drone shots and twilight shots, like we see, like when we go hire
Mhm.
photographers, like they seem to have like extra charges for twilight work, things like that. Maybe you can talk about the importance of it or lack thereof.
Yeah, absolutely. There's 2 ways these days. There used to be only one. You went out there with a camera and you photographed it at twilight. These days, you can send it to Taiwan, Vietnam, wherever, and they'll make the windows look like they're glowing. And put
That's a lot easier.
a sunset in there. But the trouble is, it doesn't look to a photographer, it doesn't look realistic at all.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
So-
we've seen some photographs where even to the common eye, it's like that doesn't really look
Yeah,
right.
that's not. Yeah. No, I'm a big advocate for twilights, but not in the summer, because in the summer you're out there shooting till like 9 o'clock at night, whereas in the winter you can be back by 6 in the evening, sort of thing. So I'm really just joking. I'll shoot them whenever, but I must admit, winter's better for twilights for me. And yeah, I think if you've got a luxury listing, you really, and it lends itself towards twilights. And there are some luxury listings, quite honestly, that you would think, okay, let's shoot it for twilight. And then you get there and you're like, this is not going to work. It doesn't have any really killer angles. It's a great house. Aerials, absolutely. And there's 2 schools of aerials. I get a lot of comments, and then you have the people that put the darn thing up to the maximum height that you're legally allowed to go, which is 400 feet. And the house looks like, a little tiny pinprick down in there, but giant ocean and stuff. So now the market is slowed down a little bit. And I'll say, so do you want to do aerials on that? They go, nah, I don't think so.
Oh goodness.
So my response to that's a great point.
Yeah.
So something tells me that during the COVID times, there was probably an unbelievable rush. Before I just hit my nose on the line, an unbelievable rush, competition to get the listings, and so they probably promoted themselves as we're going to give you.
We did do that.
The best package you can believe. We're going to do everything we can just
to get the top
prove
dollar.
the point, to get the right to get the listing and whatnot. And now, since it's more of a buyer's market, listing agents still should be producing the best image possible of their client's home, but perhaps their budget is becoming a little bit tighter, and so they're cutting back. When really, in my opinion, in my marketing experience, that's when you should be marketing even more.
Firing
We're
it up.
definitely seeing that. I've seen one of my pet peeves is cell phone photos. Drives me absolutely nuts. It drives me crazy.
It happens more than you think. It's really shameful.
And
really?
Even on higher end homes, like, I mean, even on I had one that had, unfortunately, a drug addict was selling. Even then, I had a photographer come out.
Yeah.
You know, it's still, we have to get the best images, but all the cell phone photos are like unprofessional photographers. There's somebody that I know of that I will not name who had a bird watcher take photos of their property.
Hmm.
Those photos are amazing. I say that sarcastically.
Yeah. Amazingly bad.
I have no words for it. So, but like we're seeing a lot of expireds and canceled with cell phone photos and no video.
Really
Mhm.
interesting. I didn't know. I didn't realize that was going on to the extent that it seems to be.
Yeah. So I think when listings aren't selling as fast, as real estate slows down a little bit, I think there are agents that cut back. They don't have the
Mhm.
budget to market when really that's the
Mhm.
time to really capitalize and really
Yeah.
help your listing stand out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm never taken
I
cell phone.
wouldn't even consider it. Like that's the
No,
craziest.
God, can you
It's
imagine?
the craziest thing, right?
That's insane.
I would never
Going-
be able to look him in the eye again. I could
Going-
never look at James
Oh
again.
yeah.
Going back 20, 25 years ago, you had a lot of agents taking their own pictures. And I mean, it was just,
Mhm.
apparent right off the bat, the walls were slanted and, they hadn't set the white balance. So all the pictures were like
Right.
blue. I had
Mhm.
agents come to me and say, why are my pictures blue? And I'm like, I don't know. You're
Do you
shooting for a daylight setting, and it really
Right.
should be
do you ever
something.
get feedback from the agents that utilize your services? Say, hey, I want to thank you because these shots help bring in showings and
Like,
and get a sale. Has that
yeah, we
happened
do.
for you?
We do. We
Yeah.
get some agents that recognize that we try to go, the extra step sort of thing. We typically over deliver on images. We usually say, a shot counts about 40. We'll get it up to about 50 on some of the listings. I've got a couple of agents that after every shoot thank us and they'll come back to us later, the next shoot and say, hey, the owners really appreciated what you did for those. And it's nice to hear because I'm sure a lot of owners say, yeah, the pictures are great and the agents don't bother passing that gem along to you sort of thing. But yeah, it's a good question.
You've had to like sell before. How do you pick agents? Like, what do you recommend? Like, how do you balance being in the profession and trying to work with agents? That seems very difficult because you know almost all the agents.
You mean when I'm selling a house?
Yeah, if you have to sell, that must be like difficult. And I think about that with our other professionals, like title people.
Yeah.
And your insurance agent. Like,
Mhm.
how are they gonna do that?
Right. Pick who's
Well,
gonna sell. Yeah.
Yes.
here's what happened. When we sold the house in Central Beach on Iris Lane,
Mhm.
I had been talking with a particular agent probably for about a year and a bit about potentially selling the house before COVID hit. And, when push came to shove, I wound up giving it to an agent that gave me my first break. And I called the other agent that I've been talking to for a year or so, who happened to be, and said, well, can you send me the pictures? And I said, yeah, you know what? I can send you the pictures. That's fine. So I sent her the pictures. She looked at them and she called me back about an hour and a half later and said, I got a full price offer for you. So it worked out both ways. So
Yeah.
that's how we handled that one. Which we didn't sell the farm out west. That just went sideways all over the place. So, you can get around, you can get through these things.
Yeah.
I think we're all over 21 and, providing it's not too egregious of a slap in the face. Most people are
It's
pretty
how you handle
comfy.
it too. Like you were
Yeah.
mature about, you called and you had the conversations where, like
You'll get a surprise. Yeah.
we'll get a surprise from a client who we've known for years and all of a sudden they're properties listed, it's like a stab in the heart.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that feeling as well. Clients sort of move around a little bit. Some of them are loyal forever. But it is a bit of a rotation, and you get a lot of my regular photographers on vacation this week. And hey, can you shoot something for me? And they don't tell you, it's just a one-off deal sort of
Right.
thing. And you think, maybe we're getting in here, but you're not. So
Yeah. Like lately, you've brought up how busy photographers are.
Right.
You were we're under a time crunch so many times that, it has to be up by whatever date. And you couldn't get a photographer within 4 or 5 days, which we haven't had in years.
no.
Current times with all this conversation about AI, is that in any way affecting your business, or are you preparing your business? Is that affecting the photography industry at all?
I personally have not done, I haven't even used AI to make funny pictures of myself. I just haven't gone near it, but I am looking at it from the peripherals and thinking, how are we going to get this to work for us in our business? And there is, and I'm debating whether to get involved with it. There is a company that will take your still images, run them through AI, and it produces a video.
I've seen
You
some
seen that?
of the ads for it.
Yeah, it's not bad.
No.
I mean,
Well,
I
their
don't
ad
think it.
isn't bad.
I don't think it. Yeah, right. I don't think it replaces video per se, but I think on lower.
It doesn't come out as a it doesn't come out as like a slideshow at all.
No, it's an MP4. Yeah, and literally they can pan around the front of the house. So it's actual video. So I'm looking and considering that for the homes that just aren't going to do video on it. They're not worth
Sort
it.
of an inexpensive video option.
Yeah.
Right. Before we part ways,
Yeah.
any advice you would give to sellers in picking a photographer or staging their home properly? What would be the final wrap to this episode?
Find out how long the photographer has been in business, whether he only shoots real estate, because if he's shooting weddings and says, yeah, I can do real estate as well, that's a recipe for disaster. Everybody thinks that shooting real estate or shooting interiors, oh, that's a walk in the park. I mean, you just got to point the camera at it, get a good angle, hit the button, and away you go. And then they look at the frame and they go, what the hell happened here? So yeah, I would make sure that your photographer's got, I would say, at least 4 to 5 years of experience and only shoots real estate and architecture. No wedding photographers. Absolutely not. It's
good advice.
It typically doesn't work. Okay.
Thank you. I mean,
You're
we could ask
welcome.
you questions all day. Then
Yeah,
then no one would be listening to us.
Right.
No, we really appreciate your insight and your stories. And
no. My
great
pleasure.
stuff. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. That's it for today's episode of $1 Million Failure. A huge thank you to James for sharing his experience and education with us.
If you've ever had a home that didn't sell and want to share your story, whether for advice, a second chance, or just to vent, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to us at $1 Million Failures, that's with an S, at gmail.com to be considered for a future episode.
And if you are thinking about selling and want to get it right the first time, please email us. We are here to help.
Yeah, a big shout out to Jeffrey French at Grit and Grind Studios, our producer.
And if you've enjoyed today's episode, make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share. Hit all the buttons, review us wherever you're listening, and follow us on social media. So Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and Threads to keep up with new episodes and any of our behind the scenes information.
And if you're a brand or a business interested in sponsoring the show, hit us up. Let's talk.
Cool. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Nicole.
And I'm Jeremy.